In this video, I'm going to be designing a roller coaster in a game and then building it in real life. So let's get started. So obviously the first thing that I need to do is actually make the roller coaster in the game. So for the coaster type, I'm going to go with the multi-launch coaster because it should be pretty easy to build. Even though this is a multi-launch coaster, I'm still going to use a chain lift because it should be easier for when I build the model. Alright, so I'm at the drop now. I'm going for kind of like an intimate blitz coaster. So I think I'm just going to have this be probably like a vertical drop. Alright, so I've finished the drop now. And for the first element, what I'm doing, it's going to bank, and then it's going to bank the other way, and then kind of go through like a 0G roll. So that should be pretty interesting. I don't really want to make this too complicated for when I build the model, but this shouldn't be that hard to build. To be honest, it's probably going to take too long if I talk through every single element. So what I'm going to do is probably just put the rest of the coaster in a time lapse, and then we'll see the POV at the end. Alright, so let's have a look at the POV. Alright, so after the chain lift, it goes into beyond vertical first drop. After that, does a turn, and then goes into a downward 0G roll. Then it turns again, and heads up into a stangle dive. After that, does a little twisty part. And then this turn, I'm actually going to replace, because I think I can add one more element in. And then after that, it does a little twisted airtime hill. Banks around, a little turnaround, and then a heartline roll into the brake run. That's pretty much it. Alright, so I replaced a long drawn out turn now. So after the stangle dive, it goes into a little twisty section, and then continues into the rest of the layout. Overall, I'd say this is a lot better, and there's not so much filler track now. I'm so excited to get started on this project, but first I have to take apart all of Goliath, but after that I should be able to start construction on the coaster. Alright, so I finished the heartline roll and then the airtime hill, but I don't think the heartline roll really looks that good, so I'm probably going to try to reprofile it a little bit. Alright, so I've reshaped the heartline roll and the twisted airtime hill, and I think I've done a good job getting the heartline and the shaping right. Alright, so I've also made a little bit of progress on the coaster. This is the turnaround, which leads into the outer banked hill, which I still have to build. But so far, I think this coaster looks pretty good. So I actually made the base a little bit taller than I normally would, because I purposely made the layout pretty short, so I won't have to worry about running out of pieces. Alright, so I've finished the outer bank turn, which looks alright, and then I've also finished about half of the stangle dive. So the way I build more complicated sections of track is I put the middle layer of tubing on first, and I usually start with just 2 connection points, one at the start and then one at the end of what I want to build, and then after that I can go back and add in extra supports, improving the coaster's smoothness and heartline. Alright, so when building tube supports, it's very important to have a strong structure, so not just a 2D surface. Otherwise the ground will warp, causing the supports to be really weak. It's also important to connect the support to the structure in as many places as possible. As you can see, on this support I've connected it to the structure in 3 different places. Alright, so I finished the stangle dive and started working on part of the 0G roll. I think the stangle dive looks pretty good, but the 0G roll right now is angled too far towards the first turn. Alright, so I've reshaped the exit to the 0G roll, and the 0G roll is actually looking pretty good. But the thing about tube supports is once you build them taller, they start to become really unstable. As you can see, I have lots of tube supports, but the structure is still really unstable. Hopefully the supports will become stronger when I finish the element though. Alright, so I finished the entrance to the 0G roll, which is looking pretty good. And now the only thing left to build is going to be the first drop. Alright, so I added in the lift and drop, and I think the shaping turned out pretty good. And I've also made a working chain lift, which is nice. I know the coaster ended up being pretty short, only about 3.5 feet tall, but to be honest, it was nice to build a smaller coaster. Now that the coaster's done, it's time to take a look at the final result.